It's the CMA's newest review of vet practices. So the Competition and Markets Authority, in my opinion, is being gagged by the British Veterinary Association, the BVA. Elizabeth Molyneux said, "This is the profession that I know and love, which is a far cry from the misleading media headlines we've endured since the CMA launched its investigation over 12 months ago. These papers suggest that the CMA is failing to fully understand the nuances around key provisions like out of hours services and referrals." So, what do we think about corporate vets? What do we think about the squeeze on on vets? This is not. I think there has to be we have to make a distinction between the veterinary industry and veterinarians, and this is nothing to do with veterinarians who
Mm.
just show up. They love animals. They want the best for our animals, and they just are there to do a job. This is more to do with the veterinary industry, and in my opinion, it's a massive oligopoly, and it's where the big bucks are. I mean, it's very, very similar to your Tesco, Sainsbury's, or your petrol stations. There's two, three, four players, and where else are you going to go? There's nowhere for you to go. So if a dental treatment is what, 700, 900 pounds, like where else are you going to go? You can't really go anywhere else.
Yeah. It kind of reminds you of like what, obviously living in the UK, we have free healthcare for us, but in America, you don't. And so it's like where the market takes control. And because there's so much money in veterinary, the big boys have bought into it, created a load of corporates, and they're controlling the prices, like things like buying their own verticals. So buying crematoriums and then charging inflated prices because people don't know to look for other places. Yeah,
I mean, you did a
and
very interesting episode on pet business disruptors, and I highly encourage everyone to go back and listen to that on pet crematoriums and veterinary practices. And Clayton did an incredible job there at highlighting something that we don't really hear all that much about, right?
we don't even think about it. Like the fact that these pet crematoriums, which are owned by the vets, are charging £5 for a communal creation and £40 to £50 for an individual creation, and then the vets are charging £300 to £400 depending on the type of cremation that you're having. And literally, these communal creations are no different to how like knackers yards were years ago, where you literally just load and burn, and these are people's pets, and people aren't really being shown the reality of what I mean. It's one of those things that no one likes to think about, and especially at the time where your animal is passed on. But there should be more encouragement to be open and honest, which they're not. And again, a lot of this is to do with corporatization of veterinary surgeries, and like for me as well, it's not good for veterinarians because there's a lot of them which have got a lot of pressure on them, which are becoming burnt out and numb in their practices. And I think that if we care about not only our animals but also our veterinarians, like trying to break these up and trying to get more insight and more transparency into the industry is important.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Mars, for example, has many veterinary interests. They have interests in Anicura, Barnfield Pet Hospital, Linnaeus, Gentle Oak Vet Clinics, VCA Animal Hospitals, just to name a few. So, in terms of business model, this is incredible. They can distribute their own food through these veterinary practices because they own so many, they can charge more money ahead of the rate of inflation year in and year out. And it's party time, and it has been party time for a very long time. And I mean, good luck trying to find a more competitively priced vet if you have a problem with your dog.
Yeah, but also things like veterinary diets. I mean, you look at the quality of them, like 4% meat, like a lot of these things are, and you're paying £80 to £100 for a 15 kilo sack. I mean, it's not right. It's taking people for a ride. And look, I always say that vets shouldn't be allowed to sell dog food, because if I went into a hospital and like with my child, and they said no, you got to feed your child like your baby beans on toast, Heinz beans on toast every day, and they gave me the Heinz beans and the toast and charged me £50 a tin for it. So if you don't do that, you're a bad person. You obviously hate your kids. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect your buying decisions because you're trusting in the vet. The vet's saying to you, look, this is veterinary prescription, low calorie diet, you know, £70 for a 10 kilo. And then you look at the back of it and it's like 4% meat and a load of corn. And you think, it's crazy. It shouldn't be allowed because
No, you
it's,
shouldn't. You shouldn't look at ingredients, according to a lot of people. You should never look at ingredients. It's all about the nutrients and the nutritional value, which is a lot of hotwash. I mean, uh, Purina hypoallergenic HA, which is, I think, the most recommended veterinary prescription diet here in the UK, contains sugar. If that is the most recommended dog food and it contains sugar by veterinarians, something fundamentally is broken, because these are just hyper palatable, caloric dense foods. Yeah, they're corn based, they're cereal based, and they aren't really all that good. I mean, arguably, a lot of these are vegan dog foods. If you have a kibble with like 4% meat, like Baker's, right? Let's call people out. I don't care. That's a vegan dog food, isn't it? Like 4% meat is what is that?
that's right. Yeah. It's a bit like, I think non-alcoholic beer goes from like 0.5 down. Like, so it's no difference really when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
going back to vet, do you think anything will change? I don't think anything can change.
no, like because what you really realistically going to do, the whole infrastructure of veterinarians, and that's going through the veterinary schools, the food industry that plays into it, the medication industry that plays into it. It's all controlled, and to actually break it up, you would need a Donald Trump of the veterinary industry to just go in there and wield an axe to it, break it to pieces, and then let it rebuild, and it would be chaos. So I don't see how you can change it, because I think their roots are in every single aspect of it. I think all you can do is try and prune the bits you can, to be honest. So hopefully they can try and create more transparency, but unfortunately for the average consumer, it's not going to make much difference.
Yeah, I mean, higher prices are just going to attract higher prices, right? It's
Yeah.
just like a spiral out of control. Right. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks a million.